The lights above me blurred into halos, buzzing faintly, as if the hospital itself had a heartbeat. My wrists were strapped down, not tight, but firm enough to remind me I was no longer in control. The fourth line ran cool into my veins. A nurse adjusted the monitor and whispered, "You're doing great, Mrs. Varela." Just a few more moments. Her voice was calm. To calm, sedation was already creeping in, thick and heavy. My mouth was dry. My body was sinking. Yet the real weight pressing into me wasn't the medicine. It was the fear that no one else in that room could see. They told me my son Dante would die without this transplant. They told me a mother's love meant sacrifice. And so I said yes. Not because I was ready, but because I was cornered. The surgeon's mask hovered into view. "Are we ready?" he asked. Gloves snapped. Instruments gleamed. The anesthesiologist leaned close, her smile soft. "Count back from 10. I whispered 9. And then the doors slammed open. Red sneakers. A boy's voice. "Wait. Don't let them cut her." Gasps rippled across the room. My grandson Eli stood at the foot of the bed, clutching a phone in his shaking hand. Eyes wild with something far older than his 9 years. He shouted, "Should I tell them why Dad needs her kidney? Should I tell them what I found in Mom's drawer?" The anesthesiologist froze. The surgeon pulled his hands back. Nurses stepped away. And in that instant, as the drugs swirled through me, my mind became sharper than it had been in weeks. Because Eli wasn't lying. He was about to tell the truth that everyone else had buried. 3 weeks earlier, it started in my kitchen. Coffee cooling in my hands, steam curling like smoke signals. While Sienna Dante's wife stood pacing near the sink. She always moved like she owned the air. "You owe him that kidney," she said softly. Not cruel, but final. "You're his mother. It's a miracle you're a match." I stared into the mug, searching for words that wouldn't ignite the room. But she didn't wait. "He's scared. We all are. The doctor says it's rare. You're his only chance." It wasn't a plea. It was a command disguised as love. That afternoon, Dante sat silent at the dining table, thin, tired, unable to meet my eyes. Sienna spoke for him, every answer rehearsed. His silence was heavier than words. By the next day, the hospital had already scheduled me for surgery. I hadn't truly agreed. Yet Sienna dropped off a folder at my house. Post-op instructions, a donation brochure, a smiling woman on the cover. It all felt rehearsed, prearranged, and through it all. I never once saw the test results with my own eyes. The distance between Dante and me hadn't come all at once. It was slow, creeping like weeds through a crack. Missed calls, shortened visits, cards signed with both their names, but always in Sienna's handwriting. I tried not to notice. I told myself not to. Until the day I sat at Dante's bedside. He was thinner, pale, quieter than I had ever seen him. I held his hand, but he wouldn't squeeze mine back. His other hand rubbed slow circles into the blanket, like a man trying to erase his own presence. "Talk to me, baby," I whispered. But he didn't. That's when I realized he wasn't just afraid of dying. He was afraid of something or someone. The very next morning, Micah, my other son, walked in with a manila folder. His jaw was set in a way that meant he'd seen something bad. "I found this," he said, in her home office. Locked drawer. Inside, page after page, graphs, chemical logs, dosage adjustments. At the top, trial case CR6. Subject D. Varela. My heart froze. This wasn't natural illness. His kidneys weren't failing by chance. It was chemical-induced. Micah's voice was tight. She signed him into a trial. Off the books. And now they want your kidney to cover it up. The folder slipped in my hands. I whispered, "She forged my consent." He said, "She didn't need your signature. Just your trust." That night, I sat by Dante's bed and watched him sleep. I wanted to scream at him, demand answers. But I knew he didn't know either. He was as much the subject as he was the victim. And for the first time, I wondered, was my love making me blind? Then came Eli. Children see things adults pretend not to. Sensitive, watchful, he started drawing tubes, wires, needles instead of animals. One night, he cried into my shoulder, "Grandma, what if they're not telling you everything?" I froze. When I asked what he meant, he whispered about overhearing his mom and uncle. Talk of clean kidneys. Pod is reacting too fast. Words a 9-year-old shouldn't know. He looked at me, trembling. "You're the clean kidney, right?" I kissed his forehead. I wanted to lie, but I couldn't. Micah dug deeper. He called in favors. What he found twisted my stomach. Dante's medical file showed unnatural decline. Not genetics, not disease, chemicals. Sienna had signed him into a backdoor drug trial run by her brother, developer at MedShore Biotech. Every signature, every dosage lined up with his failing health, and there it was. Proof that my kidney wasn't meant to save Dante. It was meant to save their data. Reset the numbers. Cover the damage. Protect their money. I wasn't a donor. I was a data point, so I played along. I nodded through briefings. I let Sienna hand me sedative-laced smoothies. I pretended to break under her guilt trips, but behind her back. Micah copied files, traced money transfers, and stored every piece of evidence. And Eli sweet. Sharp Eli held the final card, which is why, as the anesthesia pulled me under, he was the one who ran through those doors. He lifted the phone, the files glowing bright on the screen. "This isn't just surgery. My dad was poisoned. Don't let her take my grandma's kidney." The surgeon froze. Nurses glanced at each other. The anesthesiologist scrolled through the documents with shaking hands. Finally, the surgeon's voice cut through. "Stop the procedure. The machines powered down." Drapes were pulled away, and Sienna. She vanished. 2 days later, I was discharged. No fanfare. No thank you. Just the quiet shuffle of paperwork and the weight of what almost happened. Sienna disappeared. The hospital launched an investigation. Micah handed over every file. Dante called me, voice cracking. "Mom, I didn't know. I just wanted to live." I believed him. Some betrayals come from others wearing the mask of love. Now, Eli sleeps in the spare room. His sneakers lined up neatly by the door. Every Saturday, we walk to the lake. He skips stones. I breathe. Sometimes Micah joins. Sometimes it's just us. I still keep the binder of evidence, though I haven't opened it in weeks. Justice is slow. But I already reclaimed what mattered. My body, my choice, my voice. I didn't fold. I didn't bleed for their lies. The kidney is still mine. So is the peace dot. And if you want to hear more stories where family love twists into control, where hidden truths tear open under pressure, subscribe to Shattered. Bonds. Because the most dangerous betrayals aren't written in contracts or lab reports. They're written in blood.